Hi, this is Wayne Street of Messengers of the Cross. Welcome to Hope and Encouragement. Today's message, Goodbye Bondage. We're going to begin in Exodus chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, which reads, And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And as soon as the Lord said out of the house of bondage, he went on to give the 10 commandments that we know today as the moral law. Jesus talked about this in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 and 18. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. So notice, the law is for our happiness. Since the law of God, or the law of the Lord, is perfect, as found in Psalm 19, verse 7, every variation from it must be evil. Another point, those who disobey the commandments of God and teach others to do so are condemned by Jesus. And we find that in Matthew 5, verse 19. And also, the Savior's life of obedience maintained the claims of the law. In other words, Jesus lived it. All 4 Gospels clarify that. Now, in a nutshell of all this, basically, Jesus proved that the law could be kept in humanity. Another point, it showed the excellence of character that obedience would develop. In other words, it's God's character. His moral law is a word picture of who and what God is. Another point, all who obey as Jesus did are likewise declaring that the law is holy and just and good, as we find in Romans chapter 7, verse 12. Now, on the other hand, here's something to think about. All who break God's commandments are sustaining Satan's claim that the law is unjust and cannot be obeyed. So this casts dishonor upon God. In other words, there's only 2 characters in the universe. There's the character of God and the character of Satan and his rebels. Who do we choose? So once again, how are we going to say goodbye to bondage? Here it is. Goodbye bondage is coming to Jesus. Point number 2, goodbye bondage is surrendering to Jesus. Point number 3, goodbye bondage is choosing Jesus. And point number 4, goodbye bondage is full crucifixion of self to Jesus. So once again, one of my favorite verses I'm always reading here is Galatians 2, verse 20, which says, I am crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. So give it all to Jesus. Meet him at the cross. Let self be crucified spiritually. Let Jesus reign. And I'm going to leave you with one more. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. We're going to call this, Take Up Your Cross Daily. Here's Jesus speaking. And he said to them all, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. May we all follow Jesus. Until next time, keep praising Jesus.